All right, let's get right into it. We're digging into a really dark mystery right from the dawn of AI. It's a story that has everything: intense rivalries, huge amounts of money, and a death that might have completely changed the course of technology as we know it. So the story officially kicks off on July 11th, 1971, and it starts with a cold, hard fact. A brilliant scientist, one of the true pioneers of AI, is suddenly dead. So what's the official story? A tragic boating accident. Sounds simple enough, right? A sad end for a brilliant guy. But when you start to really dig into the details, that story starts to feel a little too perfect. Almost suspiciously neat. Yeah, as one source I read put it, the whole thing screams foul play if you squint hard enough at the shadows. And that's really what we're doing here. We're squinting at the shadows because something just doesn't feel right. Okay, so before we get into the wild stuff, let's lay the groundwork. Who exactly was Frank Rosenblatt, and what's the official story of what happened on that day? So Frank Rosenblatt, this guy wasn't just some lab coat. He was a total visionary. He created something called the Perceptron, which was basically one of the very first artificial neural networks. His big idea? That machines could learn just like a human brain. Now, today that sounds normal, but back then, that was a radical, almost dangerous idea. It really shook things up. And here's where it gets weird. The official report, super vague. It just says fatal boating accident on Chesapeake Bay. And get this, it happened on his 43rd birthday. But the specifics, like how did the accident happen? Did another boat hit him? Did the engine fail? Nothing. Crickets. For a scientist this important, that level of silence is, well, it's pretty suspicious. All right, so if you're looking for a motive, you have to understand the world he was living in. We're talking about the first AI wars, and trust me, this wasn't some polite academic disagreement. This was a brutal, high-stakes fight for the future and funding of artificial intelligence. Rosenblatt's Perceptron wasn't just some nifty gadget. It was a bombshell. It was a direct threat to the entire established way of thinking about AI, and it had the potential to shift billions of dollars in research funding. People's careers were on the line. So you basically had two camps, two completely different philosophies duking it out. In one corner, you've got Rosenblatt with his brain-like perceptron, backed by the Navy. And in the other corner, you have the establishment, the big guns like Marvin Minsky with their logic-based symbolic AI. And they had the full backing of DARPA. This was a full-on war for the soul of AI. And the other side played for keeps. In 1969, Rosenblatt's biggest rivals put out a book that was basically a takedown piece. It just tore the perceptron apart, pointing out all its limitations. And the effect was devastating. Overnight, poof, the funding for neural networks just dried up. It was the start of the AI winter. Okay, but wait a second. This is where you have to ask the big question, right? If the book already destroyed his reputation and the money was gone, why would anyone still see him as a threat? The war was over. His rivals had won. Or had they? Well, here's the theory. Rosenblatt hadn't given up, not at all. He was still working, stubbornly pushing his ideas forward. And what he was working on was the next step, multi-layer networks. You know what that is? It's the direct ancestor of modern deep learning, the stuff that runs everything today. So the theory goes that his death wasn't about settling an old score. It was about making damn sure his new ideas never saw the light of day. Take him out, and you bury the tech with him. So, okay, the motive is definitely there. It's huge. But what about the opportunity? Let's go back to the accident itself, because the more you look at it, the sketchier it gets. Think about it. You've got the perfect location. Chesapeake Bay is huge, making a witness-free accident easy. You have the timing. Dying on your birthday? It feels a little too poetic, a little staged. The method? A boating mishap is the perfect cover for sabotage. And then the aftermath? No real public investigation for a guy this important. Each piece on its own might be nothing, but put them all together, it starts to look like the anatomy of a perfect crime. And you have to remember the time period we're talking about. This is 1970s America, peak Cold War paranoia. Rosenblatt was deeply connected to military research. In that kind of environment, the idea of a clean assassination to remove a scientist whose work was getting in the way, well, it's really not that crazy. But for me, the most compelling piece of the puzzle isn't how he died. It's what happened right after. Look at what happened to his entire field of research the second he was gone. It's honestly staggering. With Rosenblatt out of the picture, neural network research didn't just hit a speed bump. It died.
It went into a deep freeze for more than 10 years. It wasn't until the mid-1980s that researchers started picking up the pieces again. His death left a massive void, and guess who was there to fill it? His rivals.
And look, this isn't just some wacky conspiracy theory from the internet. Inside the AI community itself, for decades, there have been whispers, jokes, people saying his death was officially an accident with a little wink. It's like an open secret that the official story just stinks. So you have to wonder, was this a one-off thing? Or, and this is where it gets really chilling, could it be part of a bigger pattern, a darker history in the world of tech? Because when you put Rosenblatt's story next to other brilliant minds who died under suspicious circumstances, I mean, look at Alan Turing, the father of computing. Both of these guys were foundational. Their work changed the world, and both died young, under a cloud of questions that have never really been answered. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Are these just horrible coincidences, or is it possible that there have been deliberate efforts to steer the course of technology by getting rid of the people who were taking it in the wrong direction? Now, to be clear, there's no smoking gun here, but the circumstantial case is incredibly strong. You've got the dots connecting a cutthroat war for money and influence to a targeted hit. I mean, it really checks all the boxes for a conspiracy, doesn't it? You have a crystal clear motive. We're talking billions of dollars and control over the future. You have the perfect, untraceable opportunity. And you have an aftermath where the rival team just happens to win everything overnight. The only thing that's missing is the hard proof, which, if you think about it, is the final hallmark of a successful conspiracy. So, in the end, we're left with the question, what really happened out on that water? Was it just a random, tragic accident, a fleek wave on a summer day? Or was Frank Rosenblatt silenced? Was he a genius whose death was meant to slam the door on one future for AI and open another? We might never know for sure. The answer, if it exists, is probably still lying at the bottom of Chesapeake Bay.